Welcome to the PrivacyCast, the Data Privacy Podcast. You are listening to Season 1. Season 1 is all about technology. This is our sixth session, and our focus today is evolving data privacy careers. I'm your host, Akarsh, and let us welcome Peter. Peter is Director of Business Development at IAPP, the International Association of Privacy Professionals. IAPP is a non-profit organization which helps and supports privacy professionals to grow globally. Today, we will talk about evolving data privacy careers and teams. Over to you, Peter, for a short introduction.
Thanks a lot, Akarsh. It's great to be here on your podcast. I think it's terrific what you're doing. So a little bit about me and the IAPP. As Akarsh mentioned, I'm Peter Yauch. I'm the Director of Business Development at the IAPP, which stands for the International Association of Privacy Professionals. And as you can gather from that name, not surprisingly, we are a professional organization that is dedicated to defining, promoting, and improving the privacy profession worldwide. We were founded in 2000, so we had our 20th anniversary last year during the pandemic, which wasn't ideal. Nothing was ideal for any of us, though, in the pandemic. The IAPP now has 68,000 members worldwide. So if you think of that growth from 0 members back in 2000 to over 68,000 all around the globe, privacy is a global profession. It is growing and it's here for and will continue to grow for the foreseeable future. So I think this topic is a really interesting one, and I'm excited to have the discussion here.
Thank you, Peter. I think, Peter, I am a member as well. So I guess we two members are talking.
You are.
So yeah, we are going in the right direction. So moving on, Peter, I think this is very important for us to understand. And this is somewhere where we all take a perspective as to what is data privacy to you. As a Peter, what is data privacy to you?
Yeah, so when I think about privacy, I think it's obviously the right for one to have control of your personal information. You want to be able to decide who knows what about you. You need to, it's the right to be free from being observed when you're in a private place. When you're in your home, you want that's the epitome of privacy. You do not want to be observed when you are in your home. Or you don't want anyone to just simply have the ability to come in and observe you or surveil you. So, privacy, it's the right to be able to speak. It's the right to be able to gather with and associate with who I choose to. It's the ability and the right, most important, the ability to write and gather information without being watched, or of course, as we say, surveil. Finally, it's, sorry, Akarsh. And I just was going to close out by saying it's it's the right to not have false information published about me.
Yeah, I think, and being a technology privacy professional as me, what I have seen is it's a lot from the corporates, right? It's a lot of things that we get into is where we are sharing the data. So the more aggressive we become to understand where all data is going from us, I think that indirectly increases, or I think that will be a motivation to our discussion today as well.
Absolutely, and that just gets into it that there's privacy in the old-fashioned view of the world. So when the camera was first invented, the automatic camera, which and portable, that made the ability to infringe on individuals' privacy more easy, right? And though as we moved into the digital age, that's when we really the rubber really has hit the road with data privacy. And as you mentioned, that the data can go in all different directions and be held by different individuals. So that's the crux of the matter right there.
Yep. I think moving on to our focus, as to the why, how one can become a privacy professional. I think this is a very general question that comes across because there are a lot of people, even my friends who are in information security, uh, they are always looking out for another, helping hand in their careers as data privacy. There are new budding lawyers in the field who actually want to support the community by making sure that the organizations or people who are breaching the trust are actually open their eyes and improve their internal processing so that human beings as humans across the globe we can get more privacy. So what is your take on what are the paths as one can become or take this profession up?
Yeah, so I think it's at its core, it's pretty simple. That you have to one, in order to break out and become a privacy professional, that you need to you need some luck. But of course, the saying goes, you create your own good luck through hard work. And how do you do that? I think, like with any other profession, you do your homework, right? So, hey, the IAPP, if I'll put in a plug for our association, what a fantastic resource for someone who is looking, especially as a security professional, to get involved and maybe differentiate yourself by learning more about privacy topics. So one can go onto our website and just get an incredible amount of information on the who, what, when, where, how, all of those things about privacy. So it's building that knowledge. And then there of course there are certain steps along that continuum. On LinkedIn, do you network and see, oh well, from the IAPP website I learned that the following individuals are active in India or Germany or the US or UK or any of the every market virtually in the world that is going to have that data privacy is, of course, is a major concern. So there are going to be individuals that one would want to connect with. So it's the knowledge, it's the connections, and then the final step there is, as part of that education process, is potentially being certified, and that is how you show the world that, hey, I have done my homework here, I know data privacy, and you show that by having a certification potentially. And you yourself, I guess I would ask you, Akarsh, what drove you to, you're a FIP, or Fellow of Information Privacy. So that's a pretty incredible designation and an achievement that you've earned. What drove you to get certified?
So for me, I think this started around for 3 years, around three and a half years ago. And I was part of a big four where we were doing a lot of privacy work. And I felt, uh, if you look at a certification like CIPT, I felt CIPT is very technical and I always loved technology. So it just helped me understand how encryption works or which level of encryption is required, and more of technical things. So that was the first step I took personally, where I felt, okay, so let's start with some technical knowledge and then go into law. And then the next step that I did was I took CIPPE, where I learned the European law because GDPR, being GDPR, is globally accepted, and this is a standard which gets like repeated or get followed across the globe. So, and then obviously because of my career path and things, I was very lucky to take up FIP. So that happened with me, and I think that I think career-wise, privacy. Uh, I think this is a new field, and if we look at any field, so in India we say potato, right? So potato goes with all our subjis, right? You eat anything, you can put potato over there.
Hmm.
So, and that is exactly the same for privacy. You do artificial intelligence, you do machine learning, right? You are processing data, you're doing anything, right? Privacy will be there because data. Once you have
Yes,
data, you have got your hands dirty. Yeah.
correct. And there's this very popular. Perhaps it's almost too popular with the conception or the notion of data being the new oil.
Right.
And at first I thought, wow, this is such a great way to look at it, a great analogy. And it really isn't, because oil, once you use it, right, then it's you've burned it out and you cannot use it. In fact, it creates carbon. We have climate change and so forth as a result. But data is a little bit more complicated, right? Because data, as we know, data can be reused and have new lives, and this is how the field of privacy is evolving, and why there is such a need for more privacy professionals and more people like yourself, Akarsh, who have been educated in information technology, but saw that there's a real need to safeguard that information and that personal data.
Right.
Because, of course, all of our AI, machine learning, and so forth, that is all dealing with personal data. It touches every aspect of our lives, professionally and personally.
Exactly. And I think you mentioned data getting reused. I have personally seen data being abused, right? Because once there is data and there is no regulation, like anybody can do anything on that data, right? If you,
Yeah.
yeah, so that I think the concept of secondary purpose, right? That just came out. Even if you change the purpose, you have to take a consent again, which makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned abuse of data, that you've seen that. I find that fascinating. What can you go into a little more detail about that?
So let's take an example of as simple as marketing, right? Everybody's across globally, right? Everybody's Gmail, personal Gmail is filled with marketing mailers, right? And there is no stopping to it, right? And after GDPR, these things have decreased substantially.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's
Just,
and
just as simple as that, right? It touches my personal life.
right. And that's about education too. So we were we recently had an election here in the U.S., and we had thought back to the previous election and the hacking that had gone on of political parties,
Mhm.
and just the focus on safeguarding your personal information. And what I'm getting at here is, it's not only at the corporate level, but it's at the personal level. There has to be a notion of that your privacy is important to the entire globe. So you need to, if you're using Gmail, which of course millions, if not billions, of us are using these quote unquote free emails, you have to approach the opening of emails with some suspicion. And this gets down to the notion that protecting your information is not only a corporate responsibility, it's a personal responsibility as well, if you wish to be able to successfully safeguard your information.
Definitely. I think moving on, uh, I think we talked on how a career as such can be taken up in terms of data privacy. What do you think are different types of careers in data privacy? Because I have been working with a lot of people in my career, and what I have seen is every privacy career, right? If you're a privacy lawyer, you would be doing something else, right? You're advising companies. If you're a technology guy, you're internally, you are helping in technology risk, right? If you're a developer, it just goes on and on, right? So, what is your take on this?
Yeah, I think that's my take is that there's just so many careers that are developing in data privacy. We've seen this, and if we look at the path of the history of the IAPP, when the IAPP was founded back in 2000, privacy was really not known on the corporate level, or it was part of the general counsel's office. so that pretty much only lawyers were involved in privacy. But with the advent of privacy legal regimes, specifically with GDPR, and Europe, with especially in the state of Hesse in Germany, which had a privacy law dating back to the 1970s, and the OECD guidelines on privacy from I believe 1980, that there began to be a push towards, ultimately with GDPR, with privacy, since it's now enshrined in a specific law that holds companies' feet to the fire with serious potential fines that can be levied, that there needed to be a technological solution. So this involved then spending that would be going on, and really has led to this creation of what we would say is an industry of privacy. So you have spending then going from privacy being the spending in the legal department to now privacy being in IT, in compliance, in marketing, and that is going to continue, and that will lead to more careers. We did not, even when the IAPP was founded, even in 2000, when even 10 years ago, the notion of a privacy engineer would have not been really as they say, a thing. And now companies that are app developers, it's not even in the purview of the tech giants, and it's startups that are looking at how do I hire a privacy engineer who can safeguard my product and safeguard, most important, my clients' information, so that my clients feel comfortable with this. There's a study out by Gartner that said something to the effect that companies that are seen as safeguarding their customers' information are going to earn 30% more profits. And that's the key, that companies are increasingly seeing this not as a cost center, not purely in the legal department, to something that actually is creating value. And that's the big change in mindset. And that's what, if companies increasingly start to see that they are going to be more profitable by safeguarding their customers' information, then they are going to hire, and they're going to hire more people who have privacy credentials, who have privacy know-how across the spectrum of the organization.
Definitely. And I think this is exactly the same thing that I have been seeing. Like, I second you on every point in terms of a technology risk, in terms of even a developer, right? It's very important. I think when information security was growing, there's a new field that popped up after DevOps, which became DevSecOps, right? And I think now it will become DevPrivSecOps, because I think everywhere in every field we have privacy. So Peter, I think privacy careers, I think we can mostly differentiate them in three parts. One would be the lawyers, one would be the technology folks, and maybe developers, right? Which are coming out as, they are coming out as they were developers earlier, but now they are helping companies engineer their softwares with privacy, right? Which we usually term as privacy by design. Right? But
Absolutely.
what are the upcoming careers that you see in data privacy? Like, which are the new ones that you have seen in these years that are coming up?
So I think it's increasingly on the marketing side, because as I mentioned before, companies are seeing that they can create value from a customer's standpoint from privacy, but it's how do you how do you market this effectively? And I think there's going to be so much to change in that regard. We're seeing this with Google, with third-party cookies, and the implications of that are pretty massive. There are potential unseen side effects from the spillover effects on smaller businesses. Does this help bolster potential monopolies? So even even the legal careers are going to change. We're going to see more on the legal and therefore on the technology side. Law firms are going to seek to create careers in data privacy that are in a similar way to, I would liken it to in the finance industry, the way finance has developed with AI, that these financiers look at the meme stocks with GameStop and the like, that you're looking for more ways to work with more information. And on the legal side, there's going to be more of that, especially as, and I think you're probably going to ask me about US privacy laws. The US is famous, or I should put an IN in front of that, infamous for litigation with regards to class actions and the like. And we haven't seen, sure, we've seen some fines and big cases coming out of Europe, but I think you haven't seen anything yet. Once the US begins to and once class action lawsuits, if that indeed does become part of the landscape, that will have a very large impact on the careers in data privacy going forward. So there are opportunities for information technology and DevPrivSec ops, or however you put that, Akarsh, to that those careers are going to change, and that there will certainly be more of those. And if we look at the spending in the industry of privacy, that's there's spending in cybersecurity is, of course, it's already massive, but privacy is beginning to catch up. Those two fields are increasingly interconnected. So there will be change. Change is inevitable, but one thing we can definitely predict is that there will be more privacy careers in the next in the short, medium, and long term.
I think even just by talking to you, I feel that like my thought process was limited, and I was not like looking at it from the bigger angle of class suit actions. But since I have heard a lot about them, so I can feel that US privacy professionals, I think US now specifically needs a lot of privacy professionals. Looking at India, what I have seen is the law here is also in progress. So once we have the law, I don't know how, like you see, right? We're like billions of people here, and the billions and billions of data that is across the applications. So there's a lot of work to do here as well. So
yeah. To put it mildly, and think of the rise of the middle class in a country like India, as the middle class develops, that's going to be these individuals will begin to demand more privacy protection from the companies that they interact with.
Yeah, in India, I don't know a person who doesn't use a mobile phone. Like if you you cannot find them. It's like very, very, very rare. And if you use mobile phones, if you use applications, data is like going everywhere across the world. So yeah, that is going to happen.
Right, and eventually many of those people will begin to say, "Hey, is my information actually being used responsibly?" It's the rights of the data subject.
So Peter, I think then we will probably move on to our special round today, which is the rapid fire round, and we have very important questions for you there.
Oh, I'm all ears.
Yeah. So we will start with our focus of the day question: is what's your age?
Now that's personal information, didn't I? So Google it for one. So,
okay. And it looks like you're going to pass that question now.
No, I'm going to. I have my real age, as they say on the internet, and my birth certificate will tell you that I'm 54 years old.
Okay.
And I'm proud of it.
Definitely. Definitely. I think you have seen IAPP grow in last 20 years. I think you we all are proud of privacy right now.
We
And
should be.
obviously, yeah. So which I know you have been to India, right? And you loved,
Ah,
yeah, you loved coming around the countryside. So which country, right, is at your heart? I know this is a tough question because you're going to publish the podcast across the globe. So US or India?
wow. Well, King Solomon, I am not, and I would not advocate splitting the baby. But as a father of three children, that's the only I would say. How when someone says which child is at your heart, and I would, of course they all are. So how could I choose there?
Okay.
And but as you correctly point, India, the people, the landscape, and especially the food. Oh my goodness! Just an amazing country and experience that I absolutely loved.
Thank you for that. And definitely, I think India, you have cuisines, right? You go to North, you have an amazing cuisine. You come to South, you have an amazing cuisine. So anywhere you go, you will find something special.
And I did, and I am not a picky person, having grown up in a family with seven siblings. I learned to eat and love everything, and India was just terrific with that.
Definitely. So coming on to our third focus question.
Yes,
Have you ever used a password which is password 123?
I can honestly say, crossing my heart, never. I grew up, as I mentioned, I grew up in a pretty big family. My mother was constantly invading my privacy, and
Okay.
I learned from the get-go, when you grow up in a big family, if you want privacy, you have to learn to be very shrewd. So no, and I'm a big fan of a password manager.
Definitely.
So
So yeah,
my mother ingrained that in me. She was the
we
CIA
can
of privacy
so we can see
infringements.
now we can see why you've joined privacy as a career and taken it up and doing so well also. It's engraved deeply, right?
And I foster that in all aspects, all relationships that I have. I try to impart there's some basic wisdom regarding. Everybody wants privacy at their right. It's not a hard sell.
Who is the first person who comes to your mind when you think about data privacy? The first
Well,
person.
that's a great question. So I would say on a personal level, I mentioned that my mom was the great. She was the like the tech giant of the old days, who did it with good old fashioned, just good eavesdropping and surveillance of her own. But if you ever visit us at the IAPP, you will come into the Weston Library, and that's named after Alan Weston. So he is the first person that comes to mind. He is the dean of privacy lawyers. Now, I am not a lawyer, but I love going into our Weston Library and seeing the volume of volumes of books on privacy that are in our library there physically at the IAPP. And it's nice that we live in an information age, but it's nice to be able to say that there are still things like books and libraries that you can go into and see and actually pick up and feel that there's been all of this academic work that's gone into what has developed to the point where someone such as yourself is a data privacy professional. So that's for me, that's the basis. That's one of
Definitely.
the building blocks of this profession.
Yep. Thank you, Peter, for the discussion. To know more
Okay,
about careers in data privacy or data privacy in general, reach out to Peter Yauch over LinkedIn. In our next
please
episode,
do.
we have a special guest for you. So stay tuned to know about technology that runs data privacy at the rate PrivacyCast. Just type PrivacyCast on any platform that you use, and you will find us. Peter, do you want to say anything at last for us?
I would just like to say, Akarsh, thank you so much. You are the spirit of the evolving field of data privacy and data privacy careers. So you're the model that I think so many look to. So thanks for all the hard work that you do in making the privacy profession what it is. That's professional and also a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed this. Thanks so much for the opportunity.